In March 1932, the invitation was enter the RAC Rally and see Britain. That first event was a carefree affair. No outright winners, but prizes for all who managed to reach the finish in Torquay. By the early 50s, things were a lot more competitive. Ian and Pat Appleyard were the partnership to catch, winning twice in their Jaguar XK120. In 1960, the RAC Rally took to the forests and the Scandinavians took over. Erik Karlsson won 3 years in succession. Scandinavian drivers triumphed for the next 10. In the 70s, 3 on the trot for Timo Mäkinen. Britain could produce winning cars, but apart from Roger Clark, we couldn't produce winning drivers. Hannu Mikkola, winner in 1978, took Scandinavian dominance into the 80s. By 1982, Mikkola had become the only driver to win the event 4 times. 1985, the late Henri Toivonen at the wheel of the Group B Lancia Delta. Since 1960, Scandinavian drivers had been denied victory only twice. Chester 1987, and the determined face of Marco Alén suggested things weren't going to change. Alén would battle with his Lancia teammate Juha Kankkunen for a victory on the RAC that would make one of them world champion. Lancia were already champion constructors, their main goal. And although Kankkunen would be leaving the team at the end of the season, Lancia claimed there'd be no team orders. This was a race for the drivers. Alén is first man into Sunday's spectator stages, the traditional tour around the stately homes of the Midlands that draws huge crowds but has little bearing on the outcome of the event. But 1987 was different. The Sunday spectator stages were hugely significant. For a start, pace notes were being used on these stages for the first time, which allows crews like Alén and Ilkka Kivimäki to recce the stage in advance. However, when they checked the Western Park water splash, there had been only 2 inches of water. Heavy rain had brought the depth up to 2 feet. The Lancia gets through, but the depth of water would be critical for some of the crews behind. Alén and Kankkunen were both making a solid and to some extent cautious start. Kankkunen into the lead by just a few seconds on these opening stages. The 1986 champion bidding to become the first man to successfully defend the world title. So the Lancia teammates already set into what promised to be their own private battle. But the third works Lancia was in the hands of Michael Eriksson, who was determined to keep the pressure on both of them. So too was Russell Brooks, at last getting his hands on the fastest machinery in the event. What he made of it would depend on how swiftly he could adapt to left-hand drive and four-wheel drive. That's something that Kankkunen has no problems with. He took the lead by 2 seconds at Sutton Park, only for Alén to grab it back by a single second by the time the cars reached Chatsworth. And at Chatsworth, Alén tried to steal a few more seconds with disastrous results. Uncharitable comments from the Chatsworth crowd, but plenty of willing helpers to get the Lancia back on its wheels. Alén tried to cut the corner on a downhill hairpin, and now the Sunday spectator stages were providing some significant entertainment. Around 40 seconds lost here for Alén, providing a handy advantage to Kankkunen at the end of the day. Russell Brooks had been taking things steadily, but despite that was possibly a little disappointed to be back in 10th place.
It's been very hard to adjust to left-hand drive, far harder than I thought, and also the turbocharging in the four-wheel drive. Particularly when you go to grabber gear, of course, it's an unusual hand to use, and we don't always get the right gear. At least Lancia gearboxes are very strong when we've engaged second instead of fourth, and so on. I don't think it's been the ideal conditions for a learning day, but we've got through it with a couple of spins and an overshoot, which have been a bit time-consuming.
Brooks, such a consistently good finisher on the RAC, and no one knew better than him that the real test would come in the forests over the next 3 days. And that's where the likes of Jimmy McRae expected to be at a big disadvantage. Just two-wheel drive on the Ford Sierra Cosworth, so the 1987 Open champion was having to go as hard as he could on the first day. But McRae going well in fourth behind the similar car of Stig Blomqvist. The idea of the spectator stages is to survive without embarrassment while keeping the crowds entertained. And that's something that David Llewellyn in the Audi Coupe Quattro is especially good at. Watch the Llewellyn style at Wollaston Park and you won't see too much first day caution here. Another man who's turned in some stirring drives in recent weeks, Mark Lovell, keen to show the British crowd what he could do at World Championship level. But destined to be a star of the event, Louise Aitken-Walker in the Peugeot. Respectably fast on the first day, just wait till she got to the Forest. And then there was Derek Bell, former world sports car champion, 5 times a Le Mans winner. Derek in his first international rally, driving GM Dealer Sports Opel Cadet GSI. First time on pace notes, and Derek was learning fast.
70, gate, slowing, and turn hairpin right, tight. Here. 50. Beautiful. Gate, and flat left over crest. Into fast right over bump. And long flat left, 120. Slight left, and flat right, 70. Slight left, leaves, caution. 100. Slight right into caution, medium left, gate, 100. Leaves. Caution, long fast K right, tightens. Tightens all the way around. And turn, long medium left. Caution, keep left to island. Here, caution. Keep left to island and medium right. And slight left over crest. 50, caution, crest and K right.
Mike Nicholson barking out the pace notes, but here at Weston Park, Derek isn't far away from that troublesome water splash.
And fast left. And slight right over crest. 100. Fast K right. And flat left. And very long slight right. And caution, turn 90 right. Very muddy, gates, narrow. And there's trees as well when you're braking. Medium left and medium right and 90 left, tight, narrow.
Now remember when they wrecked this stage a week earlier, the water splash was about 2 feet shallower.
Oh, you kill.
Suddenly, it all felt a long way from Le Mans. An air intake set too low on the British-entered Cadet GSIs was scooping water into the engine, forcing the stall and, by the end of the day, forcing retirement. Malcolm Wilson here, following behind, would face a similar problem, and by the end of the day, Bell, Wilson, Auricola, Metcalf would all be gone. This routine first day would be one to forget for GM.
90 right. Caution for the mud. Okay, come on, you baby, come on, come on, come on. And stop. Oh, what a pain. If it's going to do that every time, I don't know what the answer is. I do not believe it.
Who's gonna tell you when it's too late? Who's gonna tell you things so great? This is the 40.
And slide right and caution K left over jump. And K right to Ford. Faster here. No, not two. That's two. And long 90 right. Oh.
Who's gonna pick you up when you fall?
Little fire in a minute.
Who's gonna hang it up?
Well done. Caution, long 90 right over crest. Keep it going. Nearly at the end. Yeah, that's quite a good state. Yeah, I'm 90 left.
Who's gonna pay
And
attention
K right.
to your
And crest into 90 right.
when you scream? You can't go on thinking nothing's wrong. Who's gonna drive you home tonight?
Bell's engine blew on the last stage of the day, filled with water from Weston Park and Trentham. Derek didn't make it to the forests, but he'd seen enough to have a new respect for the sport.
It takes time to get used to the fact of sort of 1 minute driving on dirt, then on tarmac, and then onto leafy concrete, and then back onto dirt again and mud. And it's very difficult to sort of assess the situation, and I have a great respect for the rally drivers that seem to be very competitive.
But even the best of them make mistakes, and Alain's Chatsworth roll had given the first day lead to Kankkunen. Victory, remember, would make certain of the title for one of them. Blomqvist and McRae, third and fourth, and then, although GM may disagree, the rally started in earnest. A snowy start to day two in the early hours of Monday morning, but when the temperature rose in the Welsh forests, the stages were wet and slippery. Through it all, Juha Kankkunen drove with total composure. In the nighttime blizzard, Ericsson had been quick and brave, and he'd moved into third, a position he held despite a spin. Alain, trailing spectator tape, showed how hard he was trying to pull back the lost time of the night, but Alain had dropped to fourth. Per Eklund, one of the most experienced men in the field, in the Audi Coupe Quattro, he'd been quickest of all when the conditions had been at their toughest. He'd gone second, but as conditions improved, the Lanciers took charge again. And a great battle would soon develop between Eklund and the first of the two-wheel drive cars, Stig Blomqvist in the Ford Sierra Cosworth. Blomqvist currently fifth. Sixth, Jimmy McRae, but Mark Lovell had been forced over time after crashing his Sierra Cosworth. Louise Aitken-Walker was turning in a thrilling performance in the 1.9-litre Peugeot 205. Britain's top lady driver, often quicker than her illustrious teammate Callie Grundle, moving through the field from 13th to 8th place with a marvellous exhibition of driving in Clocainog and Diffie. By contrast, David Llewellyn was facing a catalogue of problems, a puncture, handling difficulties, windscreen wiper failure, but nothing terminal. The Eurosport team was now carrying the GM banner, Mats Jonsson and Sepp Heider both on the fringe of the top 10, but they'd been given quite a lesson by Louise Aitken-Walker, the undoubted British star of day two. And the top of the leaderboard at the end of the second day illustrates the untroubled passage of Juha Kankkunen, almost a minute ahead of Michael Eriksson. Alain third, and Per Eklund over 2.5 minutes adrift, but the closest non-Lancia challenger. The third day and the third loop of stages, this time in the Yorkshire forests and the border country. 117 survivors, none surviving better than Juha Kankkunen. No problems and a close-up view of a completely relaxed driving style. Michael Eriksson hanging on to second, taking the odd few seconds off Kankkunen on a very concentrated series of stages. Marco Allen in third. He knew that if there was a time to attack, it was here. That's the private Lancia battle. Audi and Ford were having their own contest for fourth. Per Eklund in fourth place here, but the Yorkshire Forests were comparatively fast, open stages, less suited to four-wheel drive. So instead, Stig Blomqvist was able to make the Cosworth Sierra's power advantage count and was rapidly closing on Eklund. Jimmy McRae was also going well, matching times with Blomqvist. The bumpy view from inside the car shows how this is fast Cosworth country. No pace notes since the spectator stages of the first day, so Ian Grindrod is back to guiding McRae from the map.
All very fast. All okay, about 300, medium left. Here it is, car off.
The kind of surface where McRae was able to stretch his advantage over his old rival Russell Brooks. Russell getting to grip slowly with the Lancia, but the problems of adapting had certainly proved bigger than he anticipated. But Louise Aitken-Walker was attacking as tigerishly as ever, hanging on to 8th place. But she was pressed hard by the GM Eurosport cars and by Spaniard Carlos Sainz in his Ford Sierra Cosworth. Mats Jonsson in the Cadet GSI in 9th place. Dalby Forest always attracts the crowds, and they saw little evidence that Kankkunen was going to let his lead slip. The other Lancias are attacking with dire consequences for Ericsson, who's gone missing, so Allen inherits second, at least for the time being. Just 9 seconds now separated Eklund and Blomqvist. Eklund in the heavy, underpowered Audi, but with four-wheel drive. Blomqvist with the power advantage, and he would have moved ahead of Eklund by the end of the day. McRae's mature drive in what was now 5th place was looking better and better.
And we have McRae again, doing the water splash. Right, we have a returner, Russell Brooks.
While Russell Brooks was wrestling with his own Lancia problems, Michael Ericsson had gone off, rolled the car, which was now stuck over a log.
Oh, we rolled quite badly, actually. But unfortunately, we landed on the wheels again, but on a log, which were under the car. And so we have to fetch some more spectators to roll the car back the same way we come. And then it was just to put the first gear in, just continue to the finish, which were about 50 meters ahead.
Ericsson lost 11 minutes and all chance of victory. And there then followed what can be described only as Lancia madness. Kankkunen comfortably leading with no need to be pressed into a mistake. And then on the second Dalby stage, he threw the car too quickly into a junction. But first gear is engaged before the car comes to rest. 5 seconds lost, the luck you need to become world champion. But Allen has gone missing. Blomqvist is now the man in second place. From holding the first 3 positions, the Lancia challenge has suddenly disintegrated. And third now is the Audi Quattro of Per Eklund. A few stages back, the two were in a private battle for minor places. Now, any mistake from Kankkunen, and they'd be contesting the lead. Behind Eklund, Allen had rolled. Just listen to the way the crowd greet his appearance. Try to remember you're in a Yorkshire forest. Allen's Lancia bodywork distinctly second-hand, and the steering isn't quite MOT standard either. Allen loses 5 minutes to Kankkunen, and he's pressed hard now by 4th place Jimmy McRae, also trailing quite a few feet of his bodywork. 5th place Russell Brooks, but dropping back. The saddest story of the third leg, however, was Louise Aitken-Walker. A damaged Peugeot after going off in Langdale. The accident had split the oil cooler. Spectators gathered round to donate oil and effect a repair, but time ran out.
That's next back out.
And then what about the oil?
We still go around with pumping engine. It's only
But
to
what
cook.
about the heat?
We'll be all right till you get off stage.
We've got anything to put it into.
Right, you wash a bottle.
Hey?
Wash a bottle.
And unfortunately, we've lost all the oil out the engine, as you can see. And, well, we can't get a hold of any oil at the moment. So we're trying hard to fix it, but I don't know, it's, you know, you've only got 40 minutes. So it looks unlikely, I'm afraid. Very disappointing.
A sad exit for Louise Aitken-Walker, and although they could tape his Lancia back together, Marco Allen's World Championship chance had now gone. 12 minutes behind Kankkunen after his roll, the man who has been at the top of the sport for so long is still denied the World Championship. Kankkunen still leads, but all in all, it had been a very eventful third day for Lancia, and Russell Brooks ensures it remains eventful.
No, I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been. Hanging on the promises and songs of yesterday, and I made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time. Though I keep searching for an answer,
During the night, the penultimate stage in Kielder and Russell Brooks' rally comes to an end. Brooks slides off into a muddy field, and this time there's no way back. So the leaders that were out to survive the last day through the Lake District, Kankkunen with a 4.5-minute cushion over Blomqvist and Eklund, who were still scrapping hard for second, and McRae on his own in fourth. And further down the field, there were other contests and other star performers. Skoda claimed their 15th class win in 15 years in Group B, but here in Group A, John Haugland was involved in a tremendous struggle with GM's Warren Hunt in the Nova, and Hunt claimed victory in the up to 1300cc class by a margin of just 2 seconds. New Zealander Possum Bourne crashed out of his first European rally when 15th, but his Subaru teammate Roger Ericsson was just outside the top 10. Britain's Chris Mellors, a fine finish in 14th. And another Ericsson, the Ivory Coast winner Kenneth Ericsson, 10th place in a VW Golf GTI. And just ahead of him, Spain's Carlos Sainz. The best GM finisher after their early disasters was a respectable one, Mats Jonsson in 8th. And 7th place through the final stage, David Llewellyn. And then ahead of Marco Allen and Michael Eriksson, Jimmy McRae in 4th, heading for his best ever RAC finish. With Ian Grindrod alongside him, the partnership claimed this splendid finish in the same way they claimed the Open Championship, by paying attention to the tactics as much as the rev counter.
Jim's a wily old character, and there's a lot more to rallying than being the fastest man, as we proved 1 or 2 times, you know, and tactics and just knowing how fast to go, you know, without taking any risks, and there's a lot of those things to it, you know. So I mean, it's a pleasure to sit next to the guy.
Right and then left.
Despite the efforts of McRae and Grindrod, it was still a Scandinavian battle in the British forests. Ahead of McRae were Per Eklund and Stig Blomqvist for Sweden. But just as in 8 of the last 9 years, through mud and through snow, day and night, Finland were leading the rally home. The emotional scenes at the final Lancia service as Alain concedes the World Championship to Juha Kankkunen. Kankkunen, the first man in rallying history to retain the title.
It was very tough, because normally I don't feel tired at all after the rally, but now I feel really that I'm completely finito. Because the secret rally without pace notes, it's always very, very difficult. And it was so tight competition, and you had only one chance. You have to win. So it was difficult, but now it feels all right.
Last year, the World Championship was decided in the committee room, weeks after the finish of the RAC. This time, there could be no doubting the quality of Kankkunen's performance throughout the championship season. The result at the Chester finish shows Kankkunen from Per Eklund and Stig Blomqvist, with McRae fourth. But Kankkunen this year is the only one who doesn't have to wait for a committee decision, because shortly after the finish, Eklund's Audi was disqualified for an alleged engine infringement. Eklund is appealing, and if his appeal fails, this is how the result will look, with a top 3 place for Jimmy McRae. It somehow makes you hanker after that first event in 1932, when there were no winners and everyone who made it to Torquay got a prize.